Hi, everyone. Oh, yeah, Mike's going to actually stand. He's actually got some great content that he's going to share with you. And then I have a quick couple Q&A, and then we can certainly open up to the audience. I'm Lindsay Teague, VP of Advanced TV Solutions with Cadent. And I'll kick it off to Mike. He's going to walk you through this awesome content.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming, and thanks everybody for sticking around. I know it's been a long 2 days of education, learning, networking, and it's 3:30 on a Thursday. In COVID time, we should all be at home, but thanks to you everybody for sticking around for this. And we're so excited to have you guys all here at the GroupM office to check out our awesome space. So as she said, today we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to do the first 15 minutes of this, talking about GroupM's vision for where the advanced TV landscape is going, our future of TV materials. I love to start this out, especially when I'm in a room of people, by asking people to raise their hands. And I'm going to ask a question, and keep your hands up for the follow-up question. But who here has cut the cord? Raise your hand if you've cut the cord. All right. Keep your hands up if you've cut the cord. Lower your hand if you don't. If that means you don't have YouTube TV, Hulu with Live, any of those. Okay. And no, not many hands are down. If you've cut the hands can go down now. If you think you've cut the cord, but you have YouTube TV, Hulu with Live, any of these aggregation services, you haven't cut the cord. You are just getting the same content a different way. You still see linear TV ad load. We still transact on a linear TV style ad model. It's just a better way for viewers to be accessing content in a way that they want to. Click. Where are we? There. All right. So we're facing some realities in the modern video ecosystem. We as video planners, buyers, measurers, practitioners in the space are constantly trying to catch up with consumer change. How do people, the people we are all trying to reach, consume premium video content in a living room and beyond environment? It includes fragmentation of viewing. It includes new models that media sellers have rolled out where they're blending impressions plus data together to better find and reach viewers. It includes tech and data providers entering the space, getting a piece of the transaction, understanding the value that these people, the value that media sellers, the value that tech providers, the value that audience and currency measurement solutions can really provide to us as buyers and planners and measurers. There's a huge disconnect in the industry around how we, as everybody in this room, defines television and how viewers define television. Every day you all hear about new acronyms, committees, standards being created. And lastly, identity and privacy are going to continue to be under the spotlight. We fully expect GDPR-esque legislation to continue to grow here. Consumer choice and privacy is paramount. These are all challenges that everyone in the room should be thinking about, and it's things that everybody here at GroupM are thinking about every day. Next slide. And linear only doesn't resonate anymore. In fact, 9 years ago, the number one show on TV would do a 10 rating in linear live. Now the number one linear TV show gets around a 1 rating. If anything's above a 0.8, it's a success. That's linear, and we could go to the next slide. But linear is not dead. We shouldn't sleep on linear. Linear is a great way to reach viewers in tentpole events, live sports, award shows, very, very premium first run premieres. Linear still captures a large share of that, but linear only on a plan isn't going to get the job done from a reach perspective anymore. Click. And that's because the way that people engage with television and television-like content in their living room has changed. If I asked everybody in the room 10 years ago to define TV, they would say it's that piece of glass on a counter or on a stand or bolted to the wall. Now, viewers define TV as that, plus streaming. Some people look at it as user-generated content, live streaming. Some people think about how does gaming play into this? If someone's playing Fortnite for 4 hours a day on a TV screen, that's 4 hours less of TV-style content that they're able to watch. Streaming audio played through the TV takes away time from the television screen as well. TVs have become the new sound systems in people's houses. These sound bars, these surround sound systems are better than any speaker you could buy in the marketplace, but it's all premium. We can click. And to us, multiple devices, inputs, content forms are changing, but it's all TV. It doesn't matter what the content is as it appears on the glass or how that content gets to the glass. If someone's butt is on the couch and they're watching on the screen, we like to think about it as TV. There's different types of TV. There's different content. We don't want to lump everything together, but we want our clients to understand that this is what the modern video landscape looks like, and premium video is the key driving factor of this. Click. So now we're going to talk about some of the provocations that we think about. Starting with, as no surprise to anybody, the change of how linear TV, the decline of linear TV, but the change of video viewership being at an all-time high. Viewers want to watch what they want, when they want, how they want. They want to redefine what premium is to that viewer at that moment on that screen, and not let us as stodgy media buyers, planners, define what's premium to a viewer. We need to understand what viewers deem as premium, and make sure that when we're doing media planning and media buying and media allocations, we don't just look at linear and digital separately. We start with that base linear plan, but then build with fluidity, data-driven linear, addressable, impression-based buying, really building universe scale as quickly as possible during the campaign in real time. Next. We talk a lot about measurement, fragmentation there. I like this slide because we talk about what's realistic today. We still do transact predominantly with average commercial ratings, units, GRPs, age and gender-based demos, but it's going to all change down the line. We're going to start to focus on spot delivery, on advanced audiences, and reach and frequency instead of a GRP. And we're also going to spend a lot of time in the next couple of years defining what impressions matter and what impressions should be measured, and making sure that as we're looking at modeling of did an impression air, we want to make sure that it aired, it was on target, it was viewable, somebody saw it, and somebody took an action, so we can do more of what works for our clients. Next. Another fact that we're facing is the rise of walled gardens, which we're okay with. We don't want to go back to a world of demo-based audiences, non-guaranteed deliveries. We understand that media sellers, data providers have an unbelievable amount of data about their viewers. We just need that to be interoperable. We're not buying from any one media seller. We're buying across the entire landscape, and being able to bring data from one seller and in a privacy-safe way executed inside of another seller, rolling up an aggregated media plan is going to be critical to solving this challenge. Next is around studio-produced content not resonating as well, especially with younger viewers. You do see a rise of live stream, user-generated content, what we would consider as TV people to be lower budget content, capturing a huge share of voice. Mr. Beast is a media company. He's doing $1.5 billion in media. He's building studios. He's producing real premium to that audience content. We can't just think about what worked in the past. We need to think about where the audiences of the future are going to be and how to really start to reach them early as things change. The media technology landscape is also becoming convoluted for clients. As you start to include new transaction points, new data sources, new buying pathways into the workflow, we want to better understand what's working for our clients, but also what's not working, making sure that there is more accountability from both the buyer and the seller, but also people in the middle who are adding things to the transaction. We just need to better understand and measure what's being added, and is what's being added driving enough results to be worthwhile to add. And fragmentation is also changing the way that we do planning, moving away from pre-baked reach curves to more real-time dynamic planning processes, but really helping clients understand why funding the use of third-party tools, third-party platforms to help us as media planners and buyers do our jobs better is going to result in them having to buy fewer impressions long-term, more accountability, less waste, better quality delivery, and more push towards buy-side fluidity. Another big one that we're focused on is consolidation across the media landscape. There are some what TV people would be considering new entrants into the field, like billion-dollar companies, Apple, Google, Amazon, who are new to the TV space, who are going to spend a lot of money producing premium content and buying very premium sports rights to build tentpole services around. There's also a lot of consolidation continuing to happen. Warner Brothers Discovery merger has now been fully realized with the upcoming launch of Max, Paramount bringing in their various assets to create Paramount Plus and IQ. These are all things that we're thinking about as GroupM so that we can make bets on the media partners that are going to drive the best results for our clients today, but also have the longevity to be around tomorrow. And lastly is when we start to think about all these new metrics and all this new data, not getting lost in it, making sure that while we're collecting this data, we're still making decisions that blend the art and science of this, not getting too bogged down on long-term measurement when we don't have to be, but also not sleeping on the ability to do short-term real-time measurement when we need to be. So don't get lost in the vast amount of data that a fully addressable, targetable television landscape allows us to realize. All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. I think one of the first things, as I was also looking through your presentation, is sort of this recognition of this dramatic change that's happening in the TV and video marketplace. But arguably, content and sort of the depth of engaging content is at its peak. But however, I sort of think that the trajectory of that ad experience isn't following suit. So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges or sort of needs of enhancement as it pertains to the ad experience for viewers that need to be changed in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think the ad experience for viewers is as bad as we think it is. There is still sometimes a perception, especially in the streaming environment, that we're over frequency and you see the same ad 5 or 6 times. That's not by design. There are still growing pains to delivery. There are still sales channel conflicts in a streaming space. It's up to us as buyers to really figure out how we minimize sales channel conflict, how we focus our spend through one source, how we are able to dedupe and frequency manage across multiple publishers, knowing that people aren't watching in one environment. But at the end of the day, most of our clients still say, I have a message that I spent a lot of money producing a very premium spot made for the living room that I want to get into as many living rooms in front of as many eyeballs as possible. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad TV ad experience.
All right. When it comes to sort of that experience, though, and you mentioned previously sort of planning and the disparate planning tools, like what are you thinking from an advancement or a need from a development standpoint against sort of the execution of those planning tools? Yeah,
I mean, I think planning is a word that has historically been under-realized inside of the work that an agency does. The old mentality of agencies is plan, buy, measure, but it's not as black and white as that. Planning is a lot of things. Planning is strategy. Who are we targeting? Why are we targeting them? What are ways to be reaching them based on how that audience, how that person, how those targets have consumed premium content in the living room and beyond in the past. But planning is also, how do we take that framework of a plan and make it a reality in the given marketplace? And that's where we need to start moving beyond pre-baked reach curves, historical data, to look at real-time availability, to be able to understand that, it could be Q4 and the scatter market is not ideal to enter for that specific audience. And there are other ways to find that audience in the same content, but that you would normally buy in a scatter market. But there's also ways to find people, the same audience in other content, and understand that, and this is not a Warner Brothers Discovery specific issue, but just because you're a client looking to reach foodies doesn't mean you have to only buy Food Network anymore. You can buy live sports and target a foodie audience and reach that same audience. So it's having flexibility and fluidity to understand how do we plan the buy in a way that allows us to actually execute it and do it in a way that's expedient for our clients.
And sort of threading through sort of the plan lifecycle, then it ties back through to measurement and the effectiveness of a given plan. So share with us sort of from a GroupM perspective, what needs to be prioritized from a measurement perspective across the marketplace?
Sure. I think a lot of times the industry gets bogged down in the difference between, in currency and measurement as being the same thing. Currency and measurement are not the same thing. I think everybody in this room will agree that we need something better than a 60,000 person panel to transact billions of dollars of linear television on. We're all moving in that direction. Unfortunately, it's moving slower than anybody I think would wish, but that doesn't mean that the measurement aspect of what's going to underpin advanced currencies is not ready to go today. It is. There are all sorts of ways for us to take strategic audiences, data-informed audiences, non-Nielsen based audiences, and execute them at scale across linear and digital, while we wait for the actual currency planning tools to catch up with market demand.
Very interesting. Share with me, I'm curious because I feel like this is a rapidly emerging sort of offering with regards to ad-supported streaming and fast channels. Does GroupM, have sort of a preferred publisher or a must-buy or a must-try or some subsets within that space?
I mean, listen, I think that I would say that everybody who's been a must-buy in the linear TV world today continues to be something that our clients want to be buying, especially those who have sports, because we talked about the importance of sports in linear. I think one of the things we're pushing media sellers for is more transparency around why do they deserve to be on a client's plan, and what is the audience that they're delivering, and what is the value that they're delivering, not just in a linear environment, but a cross-screen environment, and what steps are these legacy media sellers taking to embrace the digital transaction model, the cross-screen deduping, the open ecosystem?
Thanks. So my last question, and then I will certainly open it up to the audience for Mike. We have new fronts coming up. We have upfronts shortly thereafter. Sort of what are your early predictions? What are you expecting to see sort of as trends and themes across these presentations?
Yeah, I think most of the upfront excitement for me is around new measurement, alternative currencies. How do we have more connectivity between linear and digital and streaming, and really capitalize on consumer viewer choice and making sure that media sellers are engaging with us in a way that aligns with how people are watching, which is not just thinking about linear or not just thinking about digital, but thinking about whole audience style buying. And then how do we determine the best way to get that message in front of that viewer at that moment, based on how we want to measure it as well. You guys, when I started here, I couldn't believe how many calls I would get from our teams that would say, we were going to buy a lot of linear TV, but then we found out the client wants to measure site traffic visits. What should we be doing? We need to think about those things earlier in the campaign planning and buying process, so that we're buying impressions that are going to be measurable the way that all of you want to be measuring them.
Well, thank you so much. That's it for me. We want to open it up to anybody in the audience who may have a question for Mike. Don't be shy.
I'll stick around for a bit after if anyone wants to ask a question not in a public forum.
Group forum. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh, we got one.
Someone's brave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thinking about brand safety when it comes to all these additional YouTube, user-generated stuff, and putting what we're viewed as real premium dollars.
Yeah, so the question was, how do we start to think more about brand safety in a world where user-generated content is continuing to capture a share of traditional dollars? And it's a great question, and I don't know if the ecosystem has a fully baked answer to that yet. It's one of the reasons why we do believe working with trusted media sellers is critical. That's, going back to the slide I had about open gardens. Most media sellers today either don't want to or are not able to give full transparency to the way a TV buyer would think of full transparency. There are still TV buyers who want to get scripts for original series. That doesn't really exist in a UGC or digital world or even a programmatic buying world. It's something that we're thinking about. For us, it's more of brand safety with trusted media sellers to make sure that they're filtering those impressions that we might not want to buy out, but then also measuring third party from a contextually relevant standpoint, making sure that the type of creative that's running matches that type of content. I was having a conversation with the Warner Discovery people a couple days ago, and they asked me, well, do you think your clients are going to want to be in The Last of Us? And it's like, maybe, but you certainly don't want, a lighthearted, funny ad coming out of insane melodrama. You want to be able to match up the right message with the right creative. And that's really where we're looking to the ecosystem to start to pass better signals around content and context, how to match that and pair that together.
So we talked a lot about the fragmented landscape. What do you feel are like the most promising planning tools out there that best measure and create like a solid strategy?
Yeah, I think the best planning tools that we would want, both not just a traditional planning team, but also investment planning, to be using are tools that are able to blend historical data with real-time data. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to start to build reach curves in linear TV. We want to make sure we're using tools that take that into account, so that when we're planning a linear plus digital plus streaming, maybe even online video buy as part of a broader premium video audience-based buy, we're doing it in a way that's going to reflect how do we build reach quickly, how do we measure reach being built so that we don't have to wait for 2-week, 4-week post reporting. So smart tools are going to leverage historical data plus real-time data. ACR is a huge boon for us in the industry, being able to start to look at what's happening at a glass level in real time and understand in the last hour how many of my impressions were delivered to the right people in the right content.
Yeah, John from All City Networks. In a very general sense, I'm curious on your perspective on how fast channels are going to evolve, where that fits into the mix. Bullish, bearish, just kind of your take.
Yeah, I'm bullish. That's the good one, right? No, I'm kidding. I always think about what's on Wall Street, what the statue. I'm bullish on fast channels. I think they do have a place. As more of these streaming services come and start to have either ad-free or ad-subsidized models, there's still predominantly, on average, 2 or 3, maybe 4 paid streaming services per household. I have everything. I'm sure most people in this room have everything. But getting back to my point earlier, just because we do something as media experts doesn't mean that average viewers do it. Most people don't subscribe to every single paid or ad subsidized streaming service, which is really where the free ad supported streaming services have their place. Those are the services that people come into, go out of, circulate through, churn through. But they're also the ones that have a vast amount of library content that people who don't know what they want to watch can scroll through and find recommendations or find that linear-like viewing environment that remains so important for the average consumer. I'll repeat the question.
I'm a very fast walker.
All right.
Very good question. So you talked a little bit about measurement and currency. I'm curious how the concept of attention is playing into your day, and if you're seeing any trends there based on the content that people are watching.
Yeah, so my definition of attention is a little bit different than where I think we're going to be in 5 years. Today, attention is it's a proxy for relevant content for that audience, understanding historical trends about that type of content, knowing that in live sports, attention is maximized in the last 2 minutes of a half or the 2 minutes before the end of a football game, knowing that attention in an MLB game may look more like this, football may look more like this, 30-minute drama may look more like this. Like, those are the types of broad strokes that we're starting to think about. For years in traditional TV, people bought specific pods. They bought specific positioning inside of shows. In a streaming world, there hasn't been that standard. That's something that we're starting to think about. How do we start to apply those level of attention? When is attention at a macro level most likely maximized to place the right ad at the right time? I think longer term, as more impressions become one-to-one addressed and measurable, that's where we'll start to think about attention more as a transaction metric, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, so it sounds like context is like a big component for you pretty much right now.
Great.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thanks.